Nobody wants to hear this, but your breast milk is already unsafe. Hey everybody, I'm Dave. I'm a mechanical engineer and a dad of 3. A few days ago, our baby was unusually fussy and uncomfortable about an hour after feeding, which felt strange to me because he's normally pretty happy after eating. That's when I started to wonder whether the milk we'd store in our Momcozy cooler might not be keeping that milk safe. I'm not jumping to conclusions here, but it made me want the real answers. So I decided to test the Momcozy we've been using and the new Papablic one, the only cooler I've seen that actually claims it can keep milk safe the whole day. In this video, I'm testing both to see how they really perform. To keep this fair, I'm using the CDC guidelines as our gold standard, and I'm really focusing on only 2 questions. First, can either of these products actually get milk below 40 degrees Fahrenheit? And then second, once it's there, how long can the milk stay under 40 degrees Fahrenheit? So for this test, I'm using a K-type thermocouples. I'm placing the probes directly in the milk, so we're measuring the milk temperature itself, not just the air inside the cooler. I pre-froze both products' ice packs overnight. Then I poured 10 ounces of milk at 98 degrees Fahrenheit, body temperature, into 2 bottles, one for the top bottle position and then another for the bottom. So both coolers start under the exact same conditions. For this test setup, I'm using a data logger with all the thermocouple wires connected, so I can continuously track and record temperature changes over time for both products and generate a full temperature curve. One quick note, both coolers use threaded lids, and I couldn't screw them down all the way without pinching or damaging thermocouple wires. So I borrowed a trick from the Dad Life channel and used HVAC foil tape to seal around the lid. So it's not a perfect seal, but yes, there's going to be a little heat leakage, but it's a really solid real-world approximation, and it lets us run the test without compromising the sensors. And we've got full temperature curves for both products. Let's start with the Momcozy. The top bottle never actually made it down to the safe target of 40 degrees. The bottom bottle did a little bit better. It finally hit 40 degrees at about the 2-hour mark, but then it kept warming over time and reached the critical point at around 10 hours. And after that, climbed above the safe range pretty quickly. Now, Papablic was honestly really impressive. The top bottle dropped to 40 degrees at around the 2-hour mark and then stayed below 40 degrees for about 11 and a half hours. But the bottom bottle was the real standout. It kept the milk in the safe zone for almost 36 hours. All right, everything we've seen so far was in a controlled lab setup. But real life for moms is way more complicated than that. And even though I'm filming this in the winter, I also wanted to account for summer conditions, especially the kind of scenario where a breast milk cooler might get left in a car for a little while. So, to simulate that, I picked up this sous vide precision cooker. It lets me set and hold a specific ambient temperature, so I can realistically recreate summer heat and see how these coolers perform when the environment isn't doing them any favors. And hey, if you appreciate this level of testing, hitting like really does help support the channel. I left both coolers in the sous vide water bath for 8 hours, holding the ambient temperature right around 98 degrees. Basically, what you might see on a typical hot summer day. And here's where things stand. At this point, only the bottom bottle in the Momcozy is still in the safe range. Meanwhile, both bottles in the Papablic are still holding below 40 degrees. And the takeaway is pretty clear. In my tests, Papablic kept the milk colder for longer. What surprised me at first is that these 2 coolers look almost identical from the outside, but the performance difference is definitely real. A big part of that seems to come down to the design. With Papablic, it uses more of a capsule-style layout, where the bottle is fully enclosed, top and bottom. So it feels more sealed and better insulated. Now, with the Momcozy, on the other hand, it uses ice packs that wrap around the sides. The trade-off is that it's easier to grab the bottles quickly, but since the top and bottom aren't fully enclosed, there are more paths for heat to creep in. To make it easier to visualize, I sketched a quick diagram showing where the heat can enter and where the cold can get out. They also use different bottle materials. Papablic uses stainless steel, which tends to transfer temperature more efficiently, and it also feels a bit more durable in the hand. And that lines up with what I saw in my tests. The Papablic bottles cooled down the milk faster and were much tougher. So the different materials for the Momcozy, they're all the same except the bottles. They're plastic, and I'm tired of trying to get plastic away from my baby. I prefer something stronger. All right, that's it for all the testing, and the results are pretty clear. One final thought. I really think every brand should put breast milk safety at the top of their design priorities, because every ounce of milk is basically liquid gold, made by moms for their babies. If there's anything else you'd like me to test, drop it in the comments. And if you found this video helpful, a quick thumbs up would mean a lot. And most importantly, to every pumping mom watching, you deserve a ton of credit. The work you're doing takes real effort and real dedication, and us dads couldn't be happier for your help. And you should feel proud of it.